Hi, everyone. I'm San Francisco Mayor London Breed, and this is one of our second conversations about issues that San Franciscans care about the most. Today, we're going to talk about programs for youth during the summer here in San Francisco. I have great news to announce today that San Francisco will allow summer programming to begin. And I want to be clear that this means, both the city and its public summer programs as well as private summer programs. The Department of Public Health is expected to release the guidelines by which we can allow these programs to occur. So I want to be clear that many of these programs are hearing this for the first time. And so what we wanted to do was be the first to bring it to you that yes, there would possibly be opportunities to provide support through summer programming for your teens, for your young people. And there are going to be a lot of changes. It won't be like the summer we're used to, like the summer last year, where we had programs with tons of kids who were able to move along around the city. A lot has changed. So I thought it was important that we took this opportunity to talk to parents today about what we have available to young people, because I know this has not only been challenging for you, it's been challenging for kids who've not been able to interact with their friends and have, outdoor time and to do the things they love the most, to see a playground that they can't play in. This has been really, really challenging. So we thought it was important that we really talk about the opportunities today that will be available. So today joining me is the director of the Department of Rec and Park here in San Francisco, the person who runs all of the parks of the city, Phil Ginsburg, and the director of the Department of Children, Youth, and Families, the person who's responsible for the funding and the oversight of summer programming in San Francisco, Maria Sue. I want to also touch a little bit on childcare and what could be available. So we're going to dive right into the conversation. We want to talk a little bit about what we have now in terms of essential workers and what's available, what we plan to have this summer, and what people can do to either sign up or what other programs could do to prepare under the new guidelines for the programs that they want to make available to people. So let's get started. Phil, we hit the ball running, both you and Maria Sue got together because we knew the schools were going to close, but we also knew that there was an essential workforce out there. People who were driving Muni, people who were working at hospitals, they had children, they needed childcare, they were concerned about taking their children to their elderly parents, they couldn't leave them at home. Tell us a little bit about the program that you established that is available currently and that will potentially be extended once programming starts for June 15th during the summer.
Thanks, Mayor. You asked us as soon as the schools closed to start thinking about our kids and working families, particularly our healthcare workers and first responders and people who were needed to help in the city's response. And so the Department of Children, Youth, and Family and the Recreation and Park Department, working very closely together under the guidance of the Department of Public Health, set up an emergency childcare system that is now in its 12th week. We have over time served over 475 kids, 19,000 hours of childcare offered during that time, and we've served over 4,000 meals at over 25 different sites. The program runs between 6:30 in the morning and 7:30 p.m. and kids have been involved in distance learning and a little bit of recreation, and it's really been, wasn't what we were used to doing, and we had to stand it up pretty quickly. But it's been an amazing experience, and I'm really grateful for my partner in running this thing, Maria, who and the Department of Children, Youth, and Family, who've been terrific.
And I want to just add, because I know that, sadly, you had these kids in these pods with a limited number, social distancing. These are kids who are coming together on a regular basis, something similar to what we're going to be doing this summer. And
Right.
unfortunately, there have been people who have made nasty comments or complained or even yelled at, the kids. And so what I want to say to people is to back off and mind your own business and to leave kids alone. Because at the end of the day, these are kids whose family members are putting their lives on the line to help support this city. So I can't reiterate enough that it's important that folks really just stay in their lane, mind your own business. We're providing essential service. And we want to extend this and make this available to more kids. So let's talk a little bit about, Phil, can you just talk a little bit about June 15th? We're going to
Sure.
start programming and we're going to extend the number of kids that we're able to serve, not just in our park system, but our overall summer program. So I want you, Phil, to touch on what will be available for our park system, both for our young people and our teenagers. And then we're going to jump into Maria Sue to talk about programming in general.
Sure. So our childcare operation is it's summer, and childcare was intended to operate during the school year, while school system was closed. And what families and kids are used to during the summer is camp. You're right, Mayor. The truth of the matter, it's going to look somewhat similar in that we're going to have a smaller number of kids at each site, pods of 12, but beginning June 15th, Rec and Park between Rec and Park, the private sector camp providers, and our nonprofit providers, we expect that there will be over 200 different camps available to kids. We are going to prioritize kids of parents who are working in essential businesses, who are part of the city's response, who are in allowable businesses, and frankly, the kids who need us the most right now. Many of our kids in this city have been without their rec directors and their coaches and their mentors now for going on 10 weeks, and we want to re-engage, and we want to make sure that these kids above all else have something to do this summer. So starting June 15th, camp providers will be allowed to operate. They're going to need to certify that they're going to comply with the health order and guidance coming out of public health, which means kids still need to be in pods of 12 for older kids. The minimum session for camp providers will be 3 weeks. And the policy rationale behind that is to keep kids from normally during a normal summer, kids will go to 1 week of this camp and 1 week of that camp and 1 week of another camp. And our public health officials have asked us to keep kids together in a consistent pod. So we're going to have three-week sessions beginning June 15th at Rec and Park. I know that we're planning over 25 different camps. We expect there to be another 40 to 50 private camp providers operating in our park system. I believe that Maria is estimating nearly 100 nonprofit camp providers will operate around the city, and then there are some other miscellaneous private providers that will be operating on non-park property and different spaces. We're going to start working with camp providers as quickly as possible, right after we're done speaking with you. And for our camps, for Rec and Park camps, we're going to begin priority registration on May 26th for all of the participants that are currently in our emergency childcare program and our kids in our scholarship program who are a little bit more vulnerable and who really, really need us. We're going to reach out to those populations first, and then citywide registration for Rec and Park camps will begin on June 6th. All of this information will be laid out on the Department of Children, Youth, and Families website, dcyf.org, dcyf.org or dcyf_cares.org. And I'm going to turn it over to Maria to talk a little bit about some of the nonprofit providers and other programs happening.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Mayor, for this opportunity to share with our residents of the work that we're doing right now. So like the Mayor shared, we are in the process of expanding the opportunities for families, particularly for summer. We're really excited about this because as a parent myself who have 2 children, this is going to be a great opportunity for our young people to go out there and engage with others and just really address the social isolation issues that we know is happening in our families right now. So DCYF is really excited to be partnering with Rec and Park and the rest of our summer providers in the city to stand up all of these programs. For the DCYF specific agencies, which are the nonprofit agencies that our department provides supports to, we are going to be working with them to open up camps and programs that they will then, be made available for all of our families. We are looking at around 100 programs that will be available for families starting June 15th. We are asking all of our nonprofit agencies to follow health guidelines, which, as Phil has shared, are very restrictive in terms of stable groups of young people in consistent 3-week programming at a minimum. We will also put on our website, dcyf.org/care, um, uh, for more information around the health order, around the directives, around the guidelines for how private camps can also fulfill all of those requirements, and then document that they are going to open up. So look for that website to go live. Actually, the website is live now, but look for the forms to go live soon.
Great.
And over time, Mayor, I think we're going to try to inventory, try to provide parents with as much information as we can about all of the camp opportunities, because we have to think about it as a network this summer because of the health guidelines. So we hope to be able to have a list and some reference materials for not just rec and park camps or nonprofit camps, but all of the private camps that are happening around the city too.
Yeah, and I want to just touch a little bit because childcare has been important, and so I know that we have allowed childcare specifically to continue for essential workers. Can you talk a little bit, Maria, about what we can expect as it relates to the 0 to 5 age group and what might be available during the summer?
Yes, so we are really excited that this new health order that you have authorized with our health department to allow the expansion of childcare services for more families. So there are childcare programs, which are programs for 0 to 5 right now, that are providing services for our essential workers and other allowable businesses. Under this new health order, we are now opening that opportunity for more families. We have heard that there are families out there who are working, who need care, who really, really need care for their children, and for children to need opportunities to be with other their friends. So this health order will allow more families to have access to these slots, these childcare slots. I do want to caution folks that we are still following health guidelines, and so the slots are going to be limited. We are restricted to a smaller group of children per site. So just want to set expectations for everyone that it's not just usual childcare as we remember how it was a year ago.
Yeah, and I do think it's great that, this is providing an opportunity for kids to come together. So we're
Yes.
talking about pods of 12 within the course of a summer camp or preschool or in other arenas, so that not only can kids can parents get to work, but also it gives these children an opportunity to interact with one another, because I'm sure, especially if it's a child who doesn't have any siblings, to be able to play with another kid was like, I know everything for me as a kid. And just, I feel so awful that these kids can't go out there and enjoy one another. And so this is an opportunity. And I think this is a great opportunity. But I also sadly know it's a very limited opportunity. But I do want to touch on, teenagers, because I know one of the things that happens oftentimes is they are always left out. So I am committed to making sure that opportunities for all is available, so that we have paid internships for kids during the summer, and that we make that available, especially for our teenagers, because already they're missing their graduations, they're missing their activities and events. And we want to make sure that they have a productive summer as well, and they're not left out. So Maria, maybe you can touch on what might be happening with opportunities for all. And I know that with Rec and Park, we have a number of teams that are going to be working and helping with these camps during the summer. So let's talk a little bit about, how kids who are teenagers can sign up for some of the programs.
Thank you, Mary. So actually, a lot of our programs are doing a lot of connections to young people now, but they're doing it remotely. So they're doing a lot of wellness checks and follow-ups on what academic supports these young people need. But once again, with this health order, we are now allowed to actually have face-to-face and in-person connections with these young people. So we are going to work very closely with our nonprofit agencies to help young people connect to internship opportunities or actual job opportunities at some of these summer programs or at offices that are slowly opening up. So there's great opportunities for private sector folks who are now interested, who are opening up and would be interested in being an intern, being a mentor for a young person this summer. That would be amazing. However, if that is not available, our young people are actually engaging in project-based learning right now. So a lot of our young people in our workforce programs will be doing small projects that are that's remote for the agencies that they are assigned to. So there will be engagement, but of course, it's so much better if the engagement is actually in person and not remote.
So,
I
so
do
how do
want
our
to.
kids sign up, Maria? How do they sign up, like a teenager that wants to participate and have access to a paid internship?
So for now, we're directing everyone to come to dcyf.org/care so that they can just find out more information about what's available in the system, in the community, and then we'll make connections there. I also do want to say that for young people and for families who are struggling right now, because there are young people and families who are struggling right now, we do have a website that is available, and under the mayor's leadership, she wanted to prioritize mental health services for families and for our essential workers and other service providers. So if for those who are struggling and who need support, please go to healsanfrancisco.org to learn more about different resources for parents, for young people, and for adults and service providers.
And also, can we call 311 and be referred if we don't have access to the internet?
Yes, we will
Okay.
definitely make sure that that's possible.
Great, great. We want to make it as easy for people as possible because I know sometimes you jump on a website and you're trying to figure it out. Or if you don't have internet access, but you want to make sure that your friend knows that this might be available for, their family. So Phil, talk about, what some of the teens are going to be doing in your program this summer.
Sure. Well, for the last 60 years, San Francisco has had a program called Work Creation, which is a partnership between the Recreation and Park Department and the Department of Children, Youth, and Family, where we actually fund teenagers, the kids between the ages of 14 and 17, to work in our camps. And because of your leadership and focus on getting these camps open safely and giving kids an experience, we're actually hiring approximately 200 kids this summer that are going to be counselors in the camps that we just talked about. I also think that there's an amazing opportunity, Mayor, for those private camp providers that want to operate this summer to hire teenagers. And here's why. The health order and the health guidance requires a minimum of 2 staff for every pod of 12 kids. And for people that are used to operating, private camp providers that are used to operating with a ton of kids and few staff, you're not going to be able to do that this year. And staff are not going to be able to move around between pods during a camp session. So for private camps to operate, they need to be very well staffed. And we highly, highly recommend that private camp providers hire teenagers to help and provide some support in making sure that your camps operate safely and smoothly. And it gives these kids a great experience and gives them an opportunity to make some money.
Well, I want to provide an example because, for example, we've been providing camp at, well, I guess it's called a camp. I don't know what it's called, but we've been providing support for young people whose families are essential workers at Hamilton Rec Center.
Mhm.
And so Hamilton Rec Center has several rooms that could be
Correct.
used for, so I know that the plan is there's going to be like probably 2 or 3 pods of 12. And
Correct.
each of those pods have their own room and their own activities around their room. And they're also able to go outside and enjoy the field, but not in the same pod, although they have their workers that are assigned to their pod. So it provides for more opportunity to support more young people. So the good news is, even when they're in these situations, they're social distancing. But you know how it is when you're a kid and you're out playing, most likely you're going to somehow have some interaction where you might touch or be next to each other. So
Yeah.
I think that's really why the importance of keeping these pods to what they are is significant in preventing the spread of the virus and really giving these kids a chance to have their community of people to hang out with.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's what we're going for. It's super important for kids, first of all, to get outside and re-engage. And yes, there will be indoor spaces, but a lot more emphasis on being outside this summer for our children. And as you note, Mayor, for them to be together and hang out and under the health guidance, to your very early point, for those who are concerned about the health of our children, uh, under the health guidance, kids within the same pod can play sports. They can do certain activities. So
So they can play. Can they play basketball together? Can they play?
they together within the same pod, they can do
Nice.
those activities, and that's why this whole pod concept is very important. That our public health officials have been really focused on minimizing risk. It's impossible to eliminate it 100%,
Yes.
but
Yes.
minimizing it, and that's the whole premise of these long 3-week sessions and these pods of 12. And depending upon what spaces a camp uses, a camp may be able to have only one pod of 12 kids, but may be able to have 2 pods or even 3 pods. As you note, Hamilton or Sunset Rec Center or the Richmond or Jolie, some of our buildings have multiple spaces. Some schools where camps might operate have multiple spaces. And then we've got the best park system in the country. So we've got plenty of outdoor spaces as well. But for each pod requires a minimum of 2 staff people, and staff cannot circulate between pods. So again, for all you private camp providers out there, hire kids to help you this summer.
All
I
right.
just lost my
Well,
AirPod.
thank you all so much for the insight. I'm sure a lot of parents are excited about this. I am hopeful that, some of in addition to the public camps that we'll provide with Rec and Park and a number of our rec centers and nonprofit partners will be able to provide a sufficient number of locations within the public sector, and hopefully in combination with the private sector, many of our kids can have an enjoyable, effective, fun summer. So we appreciate that. And for more information, make sure that we reach out to Department of Children, Youth, and Families on the website or call 311. And before we wrap it up, I do want to talk a little bit about this weekend because it's Memorial Day weekend. And typically, everyone, I mean, first of all, the weather in San Francisco, even today, is gorgeous. And most of the time people want to go out and have barbecues and hang out with friends and families. And I really like the idea of what you did in terms of the circles and parks to make it clear, like you guys
Thank you,
have to
Mayor.
stay away from each other. I mean, we want to be next to each other so bad, but at the same time, we're doing so well. We still see the numbers of infections going up, but we see the number of hospitalizations going down, the number of those who are in ICU going down. San Francisco is doing well. And the last thing we want to do is get too comfortable and all of a sudden go backwards. So we still need people to keep their distance. We still need people to wear masks. We still need people to wash their hands regularly. Wash your hands. But Phil, tell us a little bit about what we can expect with the parks this weekend, because we are, as much as we know people would want to use the parks, we are going to be out in force regulating during Memorial Day weekend. We again don't want to shut down any parks, but if it comes to that point, where things are out of control and people are not following the guidelines, we won't have a choice. So we really need people to be on their absolute best behavior. So tell us about what we can expect with our parks this weekend.
Sure. I mean, Mayor, you covered it perfectly, which is that, look, our parks are super important right now. They are the one place where people can kind of get outside, get some exercise, connect with nature. And you've been amazing at making sure that these spaces are open and accessible. But for them to stay open and accessible, people need to do the right thing. And I think over the last 10, 11 weeks, most people have been. But we really need to focus and not ease up, so you can be outside, but you have to socially distance. We still recommend that you wear a mask. No partying, no big events, no big picnics. Just enjoy nature and enjoy a little time with your own immediate family or your own roommates. We will have park rangers, San Francisco Police Department, police officers. We're going to have sheriff's cadets, fire cadets, um, police cadets, and the neighborhood emergency response team, NERT and ALERT, all out doing education and outreach. There are over 1,500 signs in all of our parks indicating what you can and can't do. Just do the right things so we don't put the mayor in a position where she needs to take more drastic action. It is amazing, Mayor, in a lot of cities just threw their hands up and said, park's closed because we don't want to deal with it. You haven't done that. You've kept parks open for people. So, we're all asking the public to do the right thing this weekend. The weather will be nice. You will want to get outside. If you have to get in a car, it's too far. So go to your neighborhood park, enjoy it, but socially distance. If you're near Dolores or Jackson or the Marina Green or Washington Square, we've offered a little bit of pop-up behavioral art to inspire you to claim your own space. That's the circles that are in some of the parks. And they're intended to be joyous and inspirational, but they're intended to remind everyone that we still need to be mindful as we continue to fight this virus.
And I just want to say that, please don't get offended if, our park rangers or someone walks up to you and ask you, are you guys in the same household? Just to, make sure that people are following these orders. We have a responsibility. And the other thing is, if you're not the police, then please don't act like you're the police. We don't need you to walk up and regulate and tell other people what to do, because that creates more drama. It creates more tension. So we are doing the very best we can. We want to make this park and open space available to you because we know how challenging this has been. For the most part, San Franciscans have followed the order, and we are so fortunate that we have some amazing residents in the city who are taking this seriously, even though not everyone is complying, which has made life difficult in some respects. But please let us deal with that. We are doing our very best to try and reduce this curve to the point of it being non-existent, because I know how badly we want to get back to being out there, to going to work, to allowing kids to play. But the fact is, coronavirus is with us for some time. It's not about getting back completely to normal. It's about adjusting to our new normal in a responsible way. It's going to take time. It's going to take patience. We appreciate everyone for what you continue to do to help San Francisco be a leader in this effort. Thank you, Phil Ginsburg. Thank you, Maria Sue, for your insight. For more information, please go to dcyf.org or call 311. I know there might be a lot of questions also about the schools and about other things. We're happy to continue these conversations based on your feedback, based on your questions, because many of us are doing the very best we can. This is not like anything any of us have ever expected. So we're all in this together. We're going to get through this together. And that requires us to continue to be patient, get information to you as soon as it's available, and just really try to come together, lift one another up, enjoy the Memorial Day weekend. And thank you all so much for your cooperation. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.